I found myself standing at the departure gate, clutching my suitcase in one hand and my boarding pass in the other. Despite the palpable excitement for our long-awaited family vacation, an unsettling calm pervaded my thoughts. Something felt amiss, though I couldn't quite discern what it was. My parents had meticulously planned this trip for months, emphasizing its purpose as a special retreat exclusively for the adults, an opportunity to strengthen our family bond without the chaos of children underfoot. Despite the pangs of guilt I felt leaving my two cherished little ones behind, I eventually conceded, buoyed by their repeated assurances. Rebecca, you deserve a break. The kids will be in capable hands with your friend. Just allow yourself to enjoy this, Mom had declared, her tone both unwavering and loving. Consequently, I finalized all arrangements, ensuring the refrigerator was well stocked, leaving behind thorough instructions, and even connecting with my precious children via video call twice before making my way to the airport. I stood poised to embrace this infrequent chance to reclaim my identity as Rebecca, beyond my role as just mom. However, my anticipation was disrupted as my sister, Jennifer, entered the scene, closely followed by her 3 offspring. Children who, I had been expressly informed, would not be accompanying us on this vacation. A wave of unease washed over me as I observed the unfolding tableau. Minuscule backpacks swinging erratically, sticky hands grasping snacks, and a chorus of high-pitched voices engaged in animated chatter. Turning to my parents, I voiced my bewilderment. Weren't we all in agreement about this being an adults-only trip? Oh, Rebecca, don't adopt such a bewildered expression, Mom responded, waving her hand dismissively as if I were needlessly creating a disturbance. Beside her, Dad chuckled. It's distinct with Jennifer's children. They are truly no burden at all. No burden? My gaze fell upon my sister's youngest, Sam, who was already scaling an airport seat as if it were an uncharted jungle, his giggles echoing as he attempted to leap from its summit. Catching my pointed stare, Jennifer offered a gentle laugh. Relax, Rebecca. My children are the epitome of angelic behavior. You'll hardly be aware of their presence. It was at that juncture that Mom uttered those very words that sent a bone-chilling tremor coursing through my core. We simply adore them more. Initially, I dismissed the statement as a misinterpretation, certain that she couldn't have conveyed such sentiments. Yet as her smile widened, her eyes sparkling as if divulging a universally acknowledged truth, I realized the words were intended as a deliberate strike to my heart. A mirthless laugh escaped my lips, and I shook my head, exclaiming, "Excuse me?" With an exaggerated sigh, she retorted, "Oh, don't be so overly sensitive, Rebecca. We merely imply that they are, well, more agreeable. They demonstrate greater attentiveness and are generally more—" She paused, searching for the appropriate descriptor, then gestured vaguely. "Charming." A surge of heat flushed my face, igniting a slow-burning indignation that smoldered beneath my skin. Involuntarily, my mind conjured images of my own children, my cherished, vivacious, and beautiful progeny, currently nestled safely at home, likely pondering my unexplained departure. Jennifer's children were not inherently more charming, nor were they more deserving. They simply benefited from their status as favored grandchildren. Meanwhile, my own children were deemed unworthy of a mere airplane ticket. "You deceived me," I stated, my voice remaining remarkably composed despite the turmoil raging within. Dad exhaled wearily. "Rebecca, don't resort to theatrics. You are aware of Jennifer's challenging circumstances, a single parent to 3 children. She simply needed this respite more than you." "More?" I directed my gaze toward Jennifer, anticipating some form of acknowledgement, some indication that she grasped the impropriety of the situation. Instead, she merely shrugged, betraying an air of nonchalance as if she possessed an undeniable entitlement to be here with her children, while mine were summarily dismissed. It was in that moment that the full weight of the situation crashed down upon me. This was no accident, no miscommunication. It was a calculated decision, a willful choice to prioritize Jennifer and her offspring over me and mine, a choice made without any consideration for explanation or apology. Clenching my jaw, I inhaled slowly, recognizing the gravity of this moment. This marked the point of irreversible change. For years, I had rationalized their actions, persuading myself that the perceived favoritism existed only in my mind, that I was simply exaggerating events. But now the truth was irrefutable, and I faced a critical decision. Should I continue as the submissive, obliging daughter they expected me to be, or should I finally summon the courage to advocate for myself? Casting a fleeting glance at my boarding pass, then back at my family, and finally returning to my boarding pass, the path forward became strikingly clear. They had made their decision. Now it was incumbent upon me to make mine. Remaining rooted to my spot, I maintained a vice-like grip on my suitcase, the pressure causing my knuckles to blanch. The surrounding sounds of the airport receded into a distant murmur, leaving me enveloped in a private tempest as my parents and Jennifer continued their oblivious exchange. "Rebecca, please refrain from such theatricality," Mom implored once more, waving her hand with a dismissive air. "You're behaving as if we abandoned your children on the streets. They are perfectly safe at home." My pulse throbbed in my ears as I responded, "That completely misses the point." My voice remained controlled and restrained, yet those intimately familiar with me would have detected the underlying sharpness. Dad shook his head, clearly exasperated, as if I were the one creating the difficulties. "Rebecca, we merely believed this arrangement would prove more convenient. Given the persistent stress you experience with the children, we reasoned that you would derive greater enjoyment from this vacation without them." A hollow laugh escaped my throat, the type that signals an impending loss of composure. "Ah, I understand now. You were performing an act of charity on my behalf. Is that the essence of it?" I aimed a glare at Jennifer, who remained engrossed in her mobile device as if detached from our exchange. "And Jennifer, you conveniently assumed that I wouldn't mind accommodating your children." Mom squirmed uncomfortably, belatedly realizing that my annoyance had escalated into genuine fury. "You know the challenging circumstances she faces, dear," she said, softening her tone as if addressing a young child. 3 children and no father in the picture. She desperately needed this more than you. The familiar refrain echoed once more. She desperately needed this more than you. I could almost physically sense something within me shattering. "Do you even comprehend the words you utter when you say that?" My voice ascended, attracting curious glances from surrounding individuals. I remained undeterred. "What about me? What consideration is given to my needs? Or do my desires pale in significance because I'm not your helpless, struggling daughter?" Mom's eyes widened, and Dad's countenance hardened. "Rebecca, lower your voice." "Absolutely not." I advanced, my heart pounding against my ribs. "You lied to me. You stared directly into my eyes and assured me that this trip would be exclusively for adults. You possessed full knowledge that I would never voluntarily leave my children if I had an alternative. You were aware, and you acted without care." Jennifer finally tore her attention away from her mobile device, offering a languid eye roll. "God, Rebecca, just cease this incessant complaining. It's merely a vacation, not the apocalypse." That was it. That served as the final provocation. Inhaling sharply, I clutched the handle of my suitcase more firmly. "I will not be accompanying you on this vacation, not in the company of any of you." My voice, though resolute, conveyed a chilling intensity. As I pivoted to depart toward the exit, Mom gasped. "Rebecca, don't behave so absurdly. Where do you intend to go? Our flight is about to commence boarding." "Not for me," I retorted over my shoulder. "Rebecca!" Dad's tone now carried an acrimonious edge, his anger barely veiled. "Do not even contemplate acting in such a childish manner." Those words arrested my movement. Deliberately, I turned to confront him, locking my gaze with his. "Acting like a child?" I echoed, my voice retaining its eerie composure. "That strikes me as rather ironic, considering the people who have just unreservedly confessed their preference for my sister's offspring over my own. Mom's complexion blanched as she cast nervous glances around the immediate vicinity. Rebecca, darling, we didn't convey our meaning in such a way. You conveyed your meaning with absolute precision, I countered, cutting her off mid-sentence. You have always harbored such sentiments. It is simply that I have remained too foolish to recognize it. A profound silence descended, its weight oppressive and suffocating. Jennifer, ever impassive, heaved an exaggerated sigh, exclaiming, "Good heavens, Rebecca, please refrain from indulging in excessive melodrama. My children are present. What do you suggest Mom does? Evict them?" I responded with a genuine, scornful laugh. "No, Jennifer, I do not advocate that she forcibly remove them. I merely express my longing, for once in my existence, to be valued equally as you are." Mom opened her mouth as if to protest, yet I preempted her attempt. Turning decisively, I strode out of the airport, leaving them behind without uttering another syllable. The ensuing journey home remained shrouded in a haze. My hands, locked onto the steering wheel with a force that seemed capable of causing its disintegration, guided me through the streets. Numbness pervaded my being, as if I were a disembodied observer witnessing the events unfolding in my mind. I had expended countless years accommodating my family's whims, overlooking their offenses, manufacturing justifications, and convincing myself that I was merely oversensitive. However, they had just corroborated what I had always suspected. I would never measure up to their standards, not as a daughter, a sister, or even as a mother. Thoughts of my precious children, awaiting my return, their presence never genuinely welcomed by my parents as Jennifer's children were, triggered an irrevocable determination within me. This transcended a mere travel dispute. It encompassed the totality of our relations. This encompassed every holiday season where my children received more modest gifts than those lavished upon Jennifer's. It encompassed every birthday celebration where my parents cooed over her progeny while scarcely acknowledging mine. This encompassed every instance in which I had been relegated to a lesser status. Never again. Reaching the familiar confines of my driveway, I switched off the ignition. However, before alighting from the vehicle, I paused, staring at our house, where my beloved children awaited me. The warmth of home typically soothed my spirit, yet all I could now discern was my mother's poignant declaration. "We simply adore them more." Those few words had irreparably fractured something within me, some delicate hope I had clung to for an eternity. Although my parents had never articulated those sentiments, their actions had consistently affirmed their preference. Like a wound that refused to heal, the favoritism lingered just beneath the surface, festering with time. I had expended a lifetime striving to validate myself, attempting to earn the affection and approval that seemed to flow effortlessly to Jennifer. For what purpose? To have it explicitly proclaimed that my own children held lesser significance. A visceral pain constricted my chest. Enough. I resolved to alter the course of my life. Drawing a resolute breath, I opened the car door and stepped out. Almost instantaneously, as I crossed the threshold of our home, two miniature figures charged toward me. "Mommy!" My darling daughter Emily shrieked, launching herself into my waiting arms, her curls bouncing as she embraced me. Behind her, my cherished son Noah clung to my leg, his small hands gripping my jeans. "You're back already?" My invaluable friend Sarah inquired, her voice tinged with bewilderment as she appeared from around the corner. Sarah had generously offered to care for my children while I embarked on this supposed adults-only respite. "What has occurred?" she queried, her brow furrowed with concern. After gently lowering Emily to the ground, I forced a semblance of a smile. "I'll provide an explanation at a later time." Sarah scrutinized my expression, offering a subtle nod. Possessing an intimate understanding of my nature, she could discern that a profound shift had transpired. Turning toward my children, I ran my fingers through Emily's curls. "Did the two of you have a delightful time? I missed you both fiercely." Pouting, Noah wrapped his arms even tighter around my waist, exclaiming, "We missed you too." My heart ached. They deserved infinitely better. They warranted grandparents who actively sought their presence, not individuals who viewed them as an imposition. Pressing a kiss atop Noah's head, I embraced him tightly. "I missed you both as well, my precious loves, more than words can express." That evening, after lulling the children to sleep in their respective beds, I retreated to the kitchen table where my mobile device rested before me. My mother had attempted to reach me 4 times, my father twice. Unsurprisingly, no contact had been attempted by Jennifer. Dismissing the missed calls, I initiated our family group chat, the same chat where my parents routinely sang praises for Jennifer's offspring, the same chat where I had perpetually stifled my thoughts, feigned acceptance of subtle slights, and pretended not to notice the imbalance. Not anymore. My fingers flew across the screen as I composed the following message. "I will not be joining you on the scheduled trip, nor will I continue as part of this family. Throughout my life, I have been subjected to treatment that implies my inferiority, as well as the inferiority of my children. Today, you explicitly confirmed that this perspective will never evolve. Therefore, I am relinquishing my role. I hope you find enjoyment during your vacation. However, from this juncture forward, do not contact me, send messages, or anticipate any further assistance from my end." Pausing to review my words, my heart pounded against my ribcage. Then, without affording myself a moment for reconsideration, I pressed the send button. For a protracted moment, I simply stared at the screen. Thereafter, one by one, I severed my connection from each and every family group chat, preventing my parents from responding. It was accomplished. I had severed the ties. The subsequent morning, I heard Sarah's footsteps approaching the kitchen, where I had commenced preparing pancakes, filling the air with the inviting aromas of butter and syrup. "All right," she began, folding her arms across her chest. "Give me the full account." Skillfully flipping a pancake onto a plate, I divulged, "I am severing ties with them." Sarah blinked, caught off guard. "You mean with your parents?" I nodded. Good heavens! What precipitated this? In painstaking detail, I relayed the events, the deception, the betrayal, and the overt favoritism that had finally been vocalized. By the time I reached the end of my account, Sarah's grip on her coffee mug threatened to shatter it. "Rebecca," she breathed, her voice laced with disbelief. "That is simply egregious." Shrugging, I responded nonchalantly. "It's scarcely surprising, given our history." "That scarcely makes it acceptable," she retorted sharply. Making eye contact with Sarah, I felt my throat constrict. "I realize that." Setting down her mug, Sarah queried, "And now? What course of action will you pursue now?" I exhaled deeply, then declared, "Now I am directing all my energy toward my children and nurturing our life together. I have squandered far too much time and effort in pursuit of their validation. I simply do not require it any longer." After observing me for a brief interval, Sarah's features softened into a warm smile. "That's the most encouraging choice you could make, because both you and your children are deserving of far more." With her words validating my conviction, I concurred. "We certainly are." As I voiced my agreement, a sense of liberation permeated my being. No longer burdened by my parents' expectations, I was ready to embark on this new chapter, unencumbered. The initial repercussions of my decision emerged swiftly. Initially, there was merely silence. An entire day elapsed without a single telephone call or text message from either my parents or Jennifer. I knew perfectly well that they had received my message and envisioned them ensconced in their hotel suite, casually dismissing my supposed histrionics while sipping cocktails. However, I possessed a truth that eluded them. I was not issuing idle threats. The following day, my telephone began to ring incessantly, the identifier revealing my mother as the caller. As it vibrated upon the kitchen counter, I fought the urge to answer. However, ultimately, I resisted. The relentless attempts continued throughout the day, with my father and Jennifer joining the chorus. Undeterred, I allowed each call to proceed unanswered. By the third day, text messages commenced trickling in, their tone initially conciliatory. My sweet Rebecca, let us endeavor to reach a reasonable resolution. You are exaggerating this situation. We implore you to engage in conversation. My parents continued their efforts to reach me throughout the day, but I refused to yield. Inevitably, the tone of their entreaties shifted by the fourth day, with accusatory messages replacing their earlier pleas. Displaying their true colors, they accused me of being selfish, ungrateful, and warned that I would regret this choice for the remainder of my life. Glancing disdainfully at the venomous messages, a bitter chuckle escaped my lips. They held firm to the belief that I was engaged in a temporary outburst, that they could cajole, intimidate, or guilt me into submission. Their assumptions were soon to be challenged. That same evening, a telephone call bearing my father's identifier appeared on my screen. It was a test. I was acutely aware that this communication was not motivated by genuine concern or contrition. His objectives were fundamentally manipulative, aimed at guilting me into recanting my actions and restoring the established order. Exhaling slowly, I declined the call and proceeded to block his number, severing all ties with him. Then, after my children were fast asleep, I returned to the group chat and typed a simple message. As I said before, consider me done. Do not contact me again. It is over, and you're wasting your time. That very night, after I had tucked the children safely in their beds, I experienced a gentle vibration of my phone. My mom had responded, and the message displayed, "Rebecca, how could you? You are destroying this family." I felt nothing except for an empty void. The words had no impact. It was over. I responded one last time. The only person that destroyed this family was you, many years ago. And then I deleted the group, phone number, and wiped any trace of her from my electronic devices. In that moment, I felt an overwhelming relief, as if chains had just been removed. I was finally free. I was the creator of my own destiny. I am the master of my fate, and she had no control over it. Weeks passed, and then slowly months, and as the silence from my parents became permanent, I found myself enjoying a strange sense of peace. I spent my life attempting to measure up to their impossibly high standards, to prove my worth, to earn their love. I devoted so much time and energy trying to please them, and it never worked. It finally dawned on me that it had never been about me. It had always been about her. I was not responsible for her happiness, and I needed to find my own peace of mind. It wasn't easy, as I had so much anger locked up for many, many years. I commenced a journey of healing and recovery, and that meant cutting out all contact with toxic individuals from my life, including my parents. After a lifetime of feeling as if something was fundamentally lacking within me, I learned to develop self-love, to show gratitude, and to practice mindful awareness. One Saturday morning, my phone buzzed with an unknown number, a message from my mom, "I have cancer." I did not respond. I was not responsible for her happiness, and that it was her life, and that I could not do anything. If the situation was more complicated, I would have considered helping, but to me, this felt like another act of pure manipulation and guilt. I would love to say I was sad, but again, I felt nothing. No sadness, no guilt, no sense of sorrow. She had lost the opportunity many years ago, and sadly, there was no making up for lost time. And in the end, I was happier than I ever thought possible. I was in control, I was strong, and I was not letting anyone hurt me again.